I'm pondering a quote from the first century Greek or Roman Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who said the first business is to throw away self conceit, for it's impossible to begin to learn that which you think you already know. Sometimes we clutter our minds and we can't pick up anything new. Hi, this is Gary. This is Gary on Manufacturing. This podcast is brought to you with support from Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8 by Inductive Automation. Packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices, Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And when you go visit inductiveautomation.com, check out the Ignition Community Conference, which is going to be going on virtually again in toward the end of September. So go check it out. Last year they did a really good job putting together a virtual conference, and actually I'm fresh off of 3 virtual conferences this week. And all were well and all were educational, and I'm sure that the Ignition Conference will be superb as well. Sometimes we just seem to make things more difficult than they need to be. By closing our mind, getting fixated on an idea or whatever it might be. I was pondering all this and I got a flashback to a scene from one of my favorite movies. I call it a classic, Mel Brooks movie, but not everybody calls it a classic. Robin Hood Men in Tights. And in Robin Hood Men in Tights, we have Robin of Locksley, who had been gone for a while, and in the whole Robin Hood story where his land had been usurped by the evil prince and all that stuff. And he had his friend that he'd picked up while he was in the Middle East, Chu. Anyway, he and Chu are traveling through the English countryside on their way to Robin's home area, and they approach a creek, just a little creek, and there is a small bridge across that little creek. And the bridge is guarded by a giant of a man whose name is Little John, of course. And Little John has a weapon, and he's guarding the bridge, and he's charging a toll to go across the bridge. And Robin says, "It's my land. I'm not going to pay any toll. Prepare to fight." And Ah Chu walks over to the creek, and he says, "Hey, we don't need to cross that bridge to get over. We don't have to fight. Look, here I am on this side of the creek," and he takes a little jump. Here I am on the other side of the creek. And he jumps back. Here I am on this side of the creek, and jumps over. Here I am on the other side of the creek. But Robin is making things more difficult, and he fights Little John, and so on. He's got this fixation that there's only one way to cross the creek, that's over the bridge, and he's not going to pay a toll, and they're going to fight. How often we're that way. We get fixated on certain things or certain ideas, and we just can't kind of open our minds otherwise. And the real thing that started me thinking about this was a press release I got from an unnamed software, industrial software company, and it's talking about IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things, and of course that's quite the word these days. Actually, it's getting a little past tense now. I mean, we're going kind of beyond it, but it's the foundation of a lot of things that we do. And although the name didn't really come up in the IT conference I was at this week exactly, but still, it's data, and data comes along, and we have to get it from the field, from the plant, if you will. And so this press release said that let's see, how does it makes it? Well, it was so filled with jargon, it was a piece of crap actually. But it tells me in this press release there are 40,000 IIoT professionals doing this wiring of stuff. And I thought about it, and I thought, huh? What do you mean IIoT professionals? Do you mean the technicians and the engineers that wire I/O devices into the logic controller, the PLC, or whatever brain's thing, logic that's going on. Are we renaming them IIoT professionals? And I thought, okay, we've taken this just a little bit too far. We're trying to make everything fit into our buzzword that we're trying to do. And a lot of this has to do with marketers. Marketers have a great fear of looking like yesterday's fashions, so that yesterday's fashions wind up in the thrift shop and they're not on the front page of Instagram or TikTok or whatever other influencer kind of thing is going on. And sometimes I think marketers are a little bit that way. They have to make sure they fit in all the current buzzwords and everything. And these press releases often make things awful complicated when it's actually fairly simple. We've been doing this a long time. We've been wiring I/O into a controller, and the data from the input devices and the output devices tells the controller the state of the machine or the process, and then it cranks away on the program, and it says, oh, okay, now I need to change this, I need to open this gate, I need to turn this on, I need to raise the temperature, whatever it is I need to do. And then we do the scan again and see the latest update on the machine and so on. And we've been doing that. The change we've made is this data is actually very valuable data on not only the state of this machine, but aggregated is the state of the entire plant. And the state of the entire plant can give people from operations management, plant managers, vice presidents of manufacturing, or whatever the kind of executive role might be. Now I know an awful lot more about the state of not just the machine that I can control, but the whole plant, where it's going, and I can make better decisions for allocation of resources. Do I need to make an investment here? Something there. Maybe I need to buy something. Maybe I need to offload some work from this plant and turn it into the other plant, to another plant, or whatever. I can make business decisions based on all this data, and that's actually where we're going. That's we can apply something called Occam's razor, which says sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. Sometimes we get way too complicated, and let's just take it back down to that. So the first thing I was thinking about is this whole idea of just trying, not getting so wrapped up in buzzwords and making things complicated and whatever. Engineers know to solve a problem. A lot of times we have to get to a root cause. We can't get way too scattered and spread out. We just need to get to a root cause, make things simple and effective, solve the problem, get rid of some of these ideas of fitting everything into the latest buzzwords. And so that's kind of what I was thinking about this past week, as I've been attending a whole bunch of software conferences and so on, and there's some really cool stuff going on. I attended Honeywell User Group, HUG, and you can read this on my blog at themanufacturingconnection.com. And I updated some stuff. I thought Honeywell made some great advances. Maybe they should have done it a few years ago, but I'm not in product development and engineering at Honeywell, so I don't know how hard it is to do. But anyway, some great stuff there. And then I was at the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, HPE Discover, which, once again, I didn't talk to very many people specifically about industrial and manufacturing applications, but still the technology being developed there in terms of compute power and in terms of storage and in terms of security and some of the things they're doing. And one of the coolest things was an interview with a professor doing work on photonics and using photonics light to carry the IoT, if you will, all the data load, it's much faster. The bandwidth is just huge, and does it at much lower power than these electrical connections we've been doing with Ethernet and so on. So there's some really cool advances, and I expect to see a lot more. And those all filter into manufacturing now, as we're getting comfortable with how to use the cloud, how to go edge to cloud, how to feed this data to make better business decisions, which is what it's all about. Anyway, this podcast brought to you with the support of Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8. by inductive automation, packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all that Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And when you're at inductiveautomation.com, check out the Ignition Community Conference coming up in September. So, first, clear your mind of what you think you know so that there's room for learning something new, and don't get fixated on one idea. Thanks for listening. This is Gary. This is another Gary on Manufacturing podcast. Have a great day.